Julia's handbag sits on the plaintiff's table. Prada, black leather, gold clasp. The same brand she sent for my 16th birthday. The only gift in 32 years. I remember opening that box, alone, while my grandparents pretended not to notice the card had no message. Just her signature. Now she's crying into a tissue, telling the judge how I stole her father from her. Your Honor, my father was all I had, Julia says, voice breaking perfectly on cue. Victoria poisoned him against me. Poisoned. I keep my face neutral, but my jaw tightens. She hasn't called him in 4 years. I have the phone records. Across from me, Solomon, my biological father, straightens his tie. Designer, expensive. They look successful, grieving, wronged. The judge studies them with what might be sympathy. They're here for $3.4 million. My grandfather David's entire estate, left to me. They're claiming undue influence, claiming he was senile, manipulated, confused. They're wrong. My attorney, Rose Martinez, slides a folder toward me. 3 tabs, bank statements, medical records, and something Julia doesn't know exists yet. I meet Rose's eyes. She nods once. The judge leans forward. Mrs. Solomon, please describe your relationship with your father during his final years. Julia dabs her eyes again. My hands fold in my lap, steady. Here we go. If this story moves you, or if you've ever faced family betrayal, stay with me. You'll want to see how this ends. When it's my turn to speak, I stand. The courtroom is silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and Julia's occasional sniffles. Your Honor, I'd like to clarify the relationship Mrs. Solomon claims was stolen from her. The judge nods. I take a breath. I was 4 months old when Julia and Solomon left me on my grandparents' doorstep. There was a note. It said, "We're not ready. We'll come back." I pause. Julia's tissue freezes halfway to her face. They didn't come back. David and Celeste Cole were 58 and 56. Retired federal judge and librarian. They'd been planning a trip to Italy. Tickets already purchased. Instead, they chose me. They unpacked the crib from the attic, bought formula, and became my parents. My first memory is my 4th birthday. I sat by the living room window in my best dress because Julia had called and promised to visit. Grandma Celeste baked a strawberry cake, my favorite. We waited until the candles melted into the frosting. Julia never came. But Celeste sat beside me on the floor, and we ate cake anyway. She told me, sometimes people make promises they can't keep. But I promise I'll always be here. She was. Every Saturday, Celeste taught me to garden. We grew roses in the backyard, deep red ones that bloomed every summer. She'd kneel in the dirt beside me, showing me how to prune, how to feed the roots. Roses need deep roots, Victoria, she'd say, hands covered in soil, just like family. Every Sunday, David taught me chess on the front porch. He'd set up the board, pour 2 glasses of lemonade, and we'd play until sunset. Think 3 moves ahead, he'd tell me, moving his knight. Anticipate what your opponent doesn't see. I was 12 when I finally asked why my parents left. David set down his bishop and looked at me for a long moment. Some people aren't built for staying, Victoria, but Grandma and I are. We're not going anywhere. He kept that promise for 20 more years. Julia and Solomon? They sent 4 birthday cards in 32 years. Each one asked for money. Solomon visited once, my high school graduation. He stayed 20 minutes, left before the ceremony ended. Said he had a flight to catch. Meanwhile, Julia's Facebook showed Bali sunsets, Michelin star dinners, captions about living her best life. I was never mentioned. Not once. Rose stands, approaching the bench with a thick folder. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, bank statements from Judge David Cole's account spanning 18 years. She opens the folder. The judge leans forward. These statements show that Judge Cole wired Julia and Solomon $62,000 during that period. Each transfer was labeled an emergency. Rose pulls out highlighted pages. Emergency number 1, $5,000 for urgent travel. Julia's Instagram post from that same week shows her in Bali. Emergency number 7, $8,000 for medical bills. 2 weeks later, Solomon purchased a boat. Emergency number 14, $12,000 for rent assistance. Julia posted photos of her newly renovated kitchen 3 days later. The courtroom murmurs. Julia's lawyer shifts in his seat. Rose's voice is steady, clear. Your Honor, the plaintiffs claim they were abandoned by Judge Cole. The evidence shows they abandoned their daughter, then treated her grandfather like an ATM. I remember the day I was 10. David hung up the phone in the kitchen, his face tired. Your mother called today, he said quietly. She needs money for rent. I looked up from my homework. Is she coming to visit? David paused, his hand still on the phone. No, sweetheart, not this time. Will she ever? He knelt beside my chair, eye level with me. I don't know, but Grandma and I aren't going anywhere. He sent the money. Julia didn't call again for 2 years. When I was 29, Grandma Celeste got sick. Pancreatic cancer. She fought for 6 months. I took leave from my job, slept in a chair beside her hospital bed. 3 days before she died, she took my hand. Don't let bitterness grow, Victoria, she whispered. But don't let them rewrite history either. I promised. Julia didn't come to the funeral. She sent a text. Sorry for your loss. Can't make it. Send flowers in my name? I sent the flowers. White roses. I signed the card. From the granddaughter who stayed. 3 years later, David died suddenly. Heart attack on the front porch, his favorite chess book open in his lap. I found him at sunset, the pieces still set up from our last game. His will had been updated a decade earlier, when Grandma Celeste was still alive. Everything, the house, the savings, the investments, left to me. Julia and Solomon appeared at the funeral. I hadn't seen them in 8 years. Solomon approached me at the reception, his hand extended like we were business associates. Victoria, he said, we need to talk about the estate. Not, I'm sorry for your loss. Not, how are you holding up? Just, we need to talk about the estate. Now they're here, contesting the will, claiming David was senile, claiming I manipulated him. I look at Julia across the courtroom. She's still holding that tissue, eyes red-rimmed. I wonder if she's ever cried real tears for me. Day 2 begins with Julia's lawyer calling Dr. Marcus Webb to the stand. Dr. Webb is 60-something, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. He settles into the witness chair with practiced ease. Dr. Webb, Julia's lawyer begins. You examined Judge Cole in his final year, correct? Yes. I'm a neurologist. I saw him approximately 6 months before his death. And what did you observe? Dr. Webb folds his hands. Memory lapses, confusion about finances. In my professional opinion, Judge Cole showed signs of cognitive decline. He was susceptible to influence. Julia dabs her eyes. Solomon nods gravely. Rose doesn't even look up from her notes. When it's her turn, she stands slowly, buttoning her blazer. Dr. Webb, how many times did you examine Judge Cole? Once. Once, 6 months before his death. A routine checkup, correct? Yes, but I observed. Who was Judge Cole's primary physician? Dr. Webb hesitates. I believe Dr. Patricia Nguyen. For how long? I don't know. Rose approaches the bench holding a document. 30 years. Dr. Nguyen treated Judge Cole for 3 decades. Her notes from 2 weeks before his death describe sharp cognition, excellent recall, no signs of confusion. She turns back to Dr. Webb. Doctor, did you know Judge Cole completed the New York Times crossword puzzle every morning until the day he died? I wasn't aware. Did you know he kept a legal journal analyzing Supreme Court cases? His final entry, written 3 days before his death, is a 4-page analysis of constitutional law. Rose slides the journal across to the judge. Exhibit B, Your Honor. She faces Dr. Webb again. Doctor, how much are the plaintiffs paying you for your testimony today? Dr. Webb's face flushes. I'm not being paid for testimony. I'm being compensated for my time. $15,000. For 1 hour of your time. Your standard consultation rate is $300. The courtroom murmurs. Dr. Webb shifts in his seat. No further questions. Julia's lawyer calls Margaret Sullivan next. Julia's sister, Victoria's aunt by blood only. Margaret is polished, sympathetic. She takes the stand with a sad smile. Margaret, how would you describe Victoria's relationship with Judge Cole in his final years? Controlling, Margaret says softly. Victoria kept him isolated. She wouldn't let family visit. I think she brainwashed him against Julia. I feel Rose's hand briefly touch my arm under the table. Steady. When did you last visit your father? Rose asks on cross-examination. Margaret blinks. It's been a few years, but how many years? I'm not sure exactly. Rose produces a leather-bound book. This is Judge Cole's visitor log. He kept one after a break-in in 2010. Your signature appears here. December 23rd, 2011. You stayed 45 minutes. Before that, your last visit was 2004. Margaret's mouth opens, closes. 14 years, Rose says. You visited your father twice in 14 years. And how many times did Victoria visit during that period? I don't know. Every Sunday. 672 consecutive Sundays. She missed 0. Rose lets that sit. No further questions. When Rose calls Eleanor Park, I feel something shift in the room. Eleanor is 72, small and sturdy, with kind eyes. She's been David's housekeeper for 25 years. She raised me as much as my grandparents did. Ms. Park, Rose says gently, please describe Victoria's routine with Judge Cole. Eleanor's voice is steady. Miss Victoria came every Sunday. She'd arrive Saturday night, stay through Sunday evening, every single week, even during law school finals. What did they do? Sunday dinners, pot roast, the judge's favorite. Victoria would help him with his medications after his hip surgery. When his eyesight got weak, she'd read to him. Legal journals, mostly. Sometimes novels. Eleanor reaches into her bag and pulls out a photo album. I made this over the years, she says. 25 years of Sunday dinners. Rose takes the album to the judge. I watch him flip through pages. Me at 7, gap-toothed, sitting beside David. Me at 16, awkward and braced. Me at 25, law school graduation photo on the mantel behind us. David and Celeste aging beside me, page by page. Julia and Solomon appear in 0 photos. Ms. Park, Rose asks, did Julia or Solomon ever visit during your 25 years of service? Solomon came once. Stayed maybe 20 minutes. Julia called twice, both times asking the judge for money. Eleanor looks directly at Julia. I was there when Miss Victoria was 4 years old, waiting by that window. I helped Miss Celeste bake that strawberry cake. I watched that little girl's heart break when her mama didn't show. Her voice doesn't waver. And I watched her show up every Sunday for 28 more years. Pastor Raymond Chen takes the stand next. He's been at Trinity Methodist for 35 years. Pastor Chen, did you know Judge Cole? Very well. He, Celeste, and Victoria attended every Sunday for 30 years. 4th pew, right side. After Celeste passed, Victoria never let David sit alone. She was there every Sunday, holding his hand during hymns. Rose presents church directory photos spanning 3 decades. Victoria appears in every single one, sandwiched between David and Celeste. Did you ever meet Julia or Solomon? Pastor Chen's expression is carefully neutral. Once, at Judge Cole's funeral, Julia asked if the church could host the reception for free. During the afternoon recess, I step into the hallway for air. Solomon is waiting. He approaches slowly, hands in his pockets, that cold smile on his face. You know this is going to destroy you publicly, right? He says quietly. We've already talked to the Charleston Post. They're running a story tomorrow. Granddaughter manipulates dying judge. I meet his eyes. Run it. I have 32 years of evidence. What do you have? His smile widens. We have biology. Blood matters in court, Victoria. You're not his daughter. Julia is. He walks away. My hands are shaking when I return to the courtroom. Rose is waiting at our table. She slides a note toward me as I sit. They're calling a surprise witness tomorrow. Someone named Diane Hartwell. Do you know her? My blood runs cold. I know exactly who Diane Hartwell is. Julia's therapist. From 30 years ago. The one person who might actually believe Julia's version of the story. Day 3 starts with a woman I've never met taking the stand. Diane Hartwell is in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, glasses perched on her nose. She has the calm, measured presence of someone used to being believed. Ms. Hartwell, Julia's lawyer begins. What was your professional relationship with Julia Solomon? I was her therapist from 1993 through 1995. And what was Julia being treated for? Severe postpartum depression following Victoria's birth. The courtroom shifts. I feel it. The first crack in my foundation. Can you describe Julia's state of mind during that period? Diane's voice is gentle, clinical. Julia was devastated. She told me repeatedly that she wanted to be a mother, but her parents had taken the baby. She said David and Celeste refused to give Victoria back. She felt powerless, rejected by her own family. Julia is crying now. Real tears, maybe. Or maybe just better acting. In your professional opinion, did Julia want to be in Victoria's life? Absolutely, Diane says without hesitation. She was prevented. The murmurs spread through the gallery. I see the judge's expression shift. Not much, but enough. For the first time since this started, I feel doubt creep in. Rose stands for cross-examination. Her voice is sharp, precise. Ms. Hartwell, when exactly did you treat Julia? 1993 through 1995. So you last spoke to Julia 30 years ago? Yes, but... And your testimony today is based entirely on what Julia told you 30 years ago when Victoria was an infant? Yes. Postpartum depression is a serious... Do you have any knowledge of Julia's actions after 1995? Diane pauses. No. But the condition... Rose cuts in. Did Julia tell you she would ask her parents for $62,000 over the next 18 years? I wouldn't know that. Did she tell you she would miss every single one of Victoria's birthdays, graduations, holidays? I can't speak to... Exactly. You can't. Rose's voice is steel. Because you haven't spoken to Julia in 30 years. You're testifying about a woman you don't know anymore. Rose approaches the bench with a document. Your Honor, Julia's phone records, subpoenaed last week. 0 calls to Judge Cole's number for 4 consecutive years before his death, but dozens of calls to his bank. She turns back to Diane. Ms. Hartwell, postpartum depression is real and serious, but it doesn't last 30 years. And it doesn't explain abandonment that became a lifestyle. No further questions. During lunch recess, I make the mistake of checking my phone. The Charleston Post article is live. A state battle divides prominent family. Did granddaughter exploit elderly judge? I skim the first paragraph. Anonymous sources close to the case suggest Victoria Cole may have isolated her grandfather in his final years, controlling access and finances. My stomach drops. The comments section is worse. Greedy granddaughter. Blood is blood. She should be ashamed. Elder abuse. Hope she loses everything. This is what happens when you let someone manipulate a vulnerable old man. My work email is flooded. Colleagues, clients, people questioning my ethics, my character, my career. I'm an estate attorney. My reputation is everything. And it's being destroyed in real time. I don't go back for the afternoon session. Rose handles it without me. Instead, I drive to David's house. I haven't been here since the funeral. Couldn't face it. The house sits empty, exactly as he left it. I unlock the door and step inside. The air is stale. Dust covers the furniture. The chess set still sits on the porch table, pieces frozen mid-game from our last Sunday together. I walk through the rooms like a ghost. The kitchen where Celeste taught me to bake. The study where David helped me with law school applications. The living room where I waited by the window at age 4. I end up on the porch steps and I finally break. Shoulders shake. Tears fall. I press my palms against my eyes, but it doesn't stop. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should just split it. End this. Is $3.4 million worth this pain? I sit there until the sun starts to set, until the tears dry on my face. Then I stand. I walk to the backyard, to Celeste's rose garden. It's overgrown now, wild and tangled. But her favorite bush is still there. Deep red roses, the variety called Lasting Love. I kneel in the dirt and start pulling weeds. My hands remember this. Saturday mornings, age 7, kneeling beside Grandma while she taught me to care for roots. I pull weeds from around the base of the bush and my fingers hit something hard. A small metal box buried shallow beneath the roses. I dig it out, brush off the dirt. Inside, letters, dozens of them, bundled with rubber bands. Letters from Julia to David and Celeste. I carry them to the porch and read by the fading light. 1994. Send money for apartment deposit. I'll visit soon. David's handwriting in the margin. Sent $800. She didn't visit. 1998. Victoria's birthday is coming up. Can you send $500? I'll buy her something nice. David's note. Sent $500. Julia never contacted Victoria. 2003. I need $10,000 for a business investment. It's going to change everything. David's note. Sent $10K. Business never mentioned again. 2015. I know we haven't talked in a while. Can you loan me $15,000? I'll pay you back. David's note. This is the last time. I'm done. The final letter is dated 2019, 1 year before David died. Julia's handwriting. Dad, I really need $25,000. Please, I'll explain everything when I see you. David's response is paper clipped to it, typed and printed. No, you've taken enough money and given nothing. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to be a daughter and a mother. I'm not an ATM. I'm your father. And Victoria deserves better than a mother who only shows up when she needs something. Julia never responded. I sit on the porch steps, clutching the letters, and I remember. Age 16. Sitting in the same garden with Celeste after Julia missed another birthday. Why doesn't she love me? I asked. Celeste knelt beside me in the dirt, her hands gentle on my shoulders. It's not about you, sweetheart. Some people only love what's easy. You were never easy. You needed things. Time. Presence. Sacrifice. Did you want me to be easy? No. Celeste's voice was fierce. I wanted you to be you, and you are everything. I stand, clutching the letters. I pull out my phone and text Rose. I found something. Meet me at your office. Tonight. I look at the overgrown rose garden, then at David's chess set on the porch table. 3 moves ahead, Grandpa, I say aloud to the empty porch. I see it now. Have you ever been blamed for someone else's choices? You're not alone. The next morning, I walk into the courtroom with my head high. Rose is already there, a new exhibit box on our table. Julia's lawyer notices. He leans over, whispers urgently to Julia. Julia's face goes pale. She knows what's in that box. Day 4. Final day. Rose calls me to the stand. I take the oath, sit down, and meet her eyes. She nods once. Victoria, how often did you visit your grandfather in the last 10 years of his life? Every Sunday, without exception. Why? I take a breath. Because he showed up for me every day of my life. Sunday dinners were the least I could do. Did you ever discuss his will with him? Once. He told me he'd updated it 10 years ago when Grandma Celeste was still alive. He said, "I'm leaving everything to you because you're the only one who stayed when staying was hard." Did you ask him to do that? No. My voice is steady. I told him to do whatever felt right. I didn't need his money. I needed him. Julia's lawyer stands for cross-examination. He's trying a different tactic now. Aggressive, confrontational. "Ms. Cole, isn't it true you kept your grandfather isolated in his final years?" No. He had a housekeeper, a church community, neighbors, and friends. He chose not to see Julia and Solomon. Because you influenced him. He was a federal judge for 34 years. My voice is calm, firm. He made decisions that affected thousands of lives. Are you arguing he couldn't decide who to have dinner with? The lawyer's jaw tightens. You benefited financially from his death? Something breaks inside me. I benefited from his life. My voice cracks. I had a grandfather who taught me chess, who came to every school play, who walked me down the aisle at my law school graduation because my father didn't show up. The money is just money. I'd give every cent to have him back. Tears fall. I don't wipe them away. The courtroom is completely silent. No further questions. The lawyer says quietly. Rose stands. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence 30 years of correspondence between Julia Solomon and Judge David Cole. Julia's lawyer objects immediately. Relevance, Your Honor. Overruled. I'll allow it. Rose opens the exhibit box and pulls out the letters I found buried beneath the roses. She reads them aloud, one by one. 1996. Julia writes, "Send money for apartment deposit. I'll visit soon." Judge Cole's bank records show he sent $800. His handwritten note on the letter, "Julia never contacted Victoria. Money went elsewhere." Julia shifts in her seat. 2008. Julia writes, "I need $12,000 for a medical emergency." Judge Cole's note. Called to ask about the emergency. Julia didn't answer. Saw Facebook photos of her in Cancun the next week. Solomon stares at the table. 2019, Julia's final letter. She asks for $25,000. Judge Cole's typed response, paper clipped to her letter. "No, you've taken enough money and given nothing. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to be a daughter and a mother." Rose sets the letters down. Your Honor, these letters prove a pattern spanning 3 decades. Julia contacted her father only when she needed money. She never asked about Victoria. She never visited. She took $62,000 over 18 years and gave nothing in return except broken promises. The judge is reading the letters himself now, his expression unreadable. Rose takes a breath. Your Honor, I have one final piece of evidence. She pulls a tablet from her briefcase. 3 months before his death, Judge Cole recorded a video will in the presence of his attorney and 2 witnesses. I'd like to play it now. Julia's lawyer stands. Your Honor, this is... Sit down, counsel. I'm going to see this. The courtroom lights dim. The screen on the wall flickers to life. And there he is, Grandpa David, sitting on the porch, the chess set beside him, late afternoon sun casting long shadows. He's wearing his favorite cardigan, the blue one with the patches on the elbows. My breath catches. His voice fills the courtroom. My name is David Michael Cole. I'm 79 years old, of sound mind and body, and I'm recording this to make my intentions crystal clear. I'm leaving my entire estate to my granddaughter, Victoria Rose Cole. Not because she asked for it. She didn't. Not because I was confused or manipulated. I wasn't. I'm leaving it to her because she stayed. When Julia and Solomon left Victoria on my doorstep 32 years ago, Celeste and I had a choice. We chose Victoria. Every day since, Victoria has chosen us back. She chose us when her law school friends went on spring break and she came home to help me recover from surgery. She chose us when Celeste was dying and Victoria slept in a chair beside her hospital bed for 6 days. She chose us every Sunday, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday when showing up was the only thing that mattered. Julia and Solomon made their choice 32 years ago. They chose absence. They chose to ask for money but never ask about their daughter. They chose to take and never give. I don't owe them anything. They owe Victoria 32 years of apologies. If they contest this will, it won't be about love or family. It'll be about money. And that will prove I made the right choice. Victoria, if you're watching this, know that you were never a burden. You were the greatest gift of my life. Your grandmother and I loved you more than words can say. Don't let them rewrite history. You earned this, not with manipulation, but with presence. Family isn't blood. It's who stays when leaving is easier. The screen goes dark. The courtroom is silent except for quiet crying from the gallery. I cover my face with my hands. My shoulders shake. Rose's hand rests gently on my shoulder. Across the aisle, Julia stares at the blank screen, her face frozen. Solomon looks at the floor. The judge removes his glasses and sets them carefully on the bench. I've presided over probate cases for 23 years, he says. I've never seen evidence this clear. Judge David Cole was of sound mind. His will reflects his true intentions. The video testimony removes any doubt. The plaintiffs have failed to provide any credible evidence of undue influence, cognitive decline, or manipulation. What they have provided is evidence of their own absence. The will stands as written. Victoria Rose Cole is the sole beneficiary of the estate. Furthermore, I'm awarding attorney's fees to the defendant. The plaintiffs will pay Ms. Cole's legal costs in full. This case is dismissed with prejudice. The plaintiffs may not refile. This court is adjourned. The gavel falls. The sound echoes through the courtroom like a final punctuation mark. Rose leans close, her voice quiet. You did it. He'd be so proud. I wipe my eyes. I didn't do anything. He did. Even after death, he protected me. Julia and Solomon stand. Their lawyer gathers papers quickly, avoiding eye contact. They move toward the exit without looking back. I watch them leave. No final words, no apology. Just absence. One last time. Goodbye, Julia. I whisper. Goodbye, Solomon. It's the first time I've called them by their first names. Not Mom, not Dad. Just their names. Because that's all they ever were. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm the steps like locusts. Cameras flash, microphones thrust forward. Rose keeps a protective hand on my elbow as we navigate the crowd. Victoria, how do you feel about the verdict? I stop, turn to face the cameras. Rose nods. Relieved, I say simply. My grandfather's wishes have been honored. That's all that matters. Do you have anything to say to your parents? I pause. Consider the question. Consider the 32 years behind it. I hope they find peace, I say finally. But they won't find it in my life anymore. Across the courthouse plaza, Julia and Solomon push through their own crowd of reporters toward their car. A reporter catches Julia by the arm. Mrs. Solomon, will you appeal? Julia's face is tight, bitter. We can't afford to. We have to pay her legal fees. Julia. Solomon grabs her arm, pulling her away. Stop talking. They climb into their car and drive away. I watch the taillights disappear around the corner. Rose touches my shoulder. How do you feel? I think about it. Really think. Like an orphan who finally stopped waiting for parents who were never coming. Eleanor appears through the crowd, her face wet with tears. She pulls me into a fierce hug that smells like lavender and home. Your grandparents are smiling down today, baby girl. She whispers into my hair. I hold on tight. Pastor Chen approaches next, his hand warm on my shoulder. Sunday dinner at my house this week. You shouldn't be alone. Thank you, I manage. My colleagues from the law firm surround me. Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer. People I've worked with for years, people who saw the Charleston Post article and didn't believe it. Drinks tonight, Sarah says firmly. Our treat. No arguments. I nod, grateful. That evening, I sit alone in David's study. My study now. The room still smells like him. Old books, chesswood, the faint trace of his aftershave. I haven't changed anything. His reading glasses still sit on the desk. His favorite mug still holds pens. I open the chess set and begin setting up the pieces, muscle memory from 1,000 Sunday games. When I lift the white king, something flutters to the table. A note, folded small. In David's handwriting. 3 moves ahead, Victoria. Always. I smile through tears. I sit back in his chair, my chair, and close my eyes. $3.4 million. That's what they thought this was about. But it was never about money. It was about a 4-month-old baby left on a doorstep. It was about 2 people in their 50s who chose love over convenience. It was about 32 years of Sunday dinners, chess games, and rose gardens. It was about being seen, being chosen, being enough. The money is just paper. The love was real. And I won. Not in the courtroom. I won 32 years ago when David and Celeste opened their door and chose to stay. I won every Sunday for 3 decades. I won every time I showed up when leaving would have been easier. Julia and Solomon lost the case today, but they lost me a long time ago. 18 months later, I'm kneeling in Celeste's rose garden, hands deep in soil, planting a new bush. Lasting love. The same deep red variety Grandma loved. Beside me, Maya digs with a small trowel, her tongue poking out in concentration. She's 6, dark curls escaping her ponytail, foster daughter who became so much more. Like this, Miss Victoria. Perfect, I tell her. Deep roots, just like family. The house is alive again. I converted David's home into a combination residence and pro bono law office. I specialize in grandparent custody rights and foster care cases. Families like mine, kids who need someone to fight for them. The study where David taught me chess is now a consultation room. His books still line the walls. His chess set sits on the desk. Sunday dinner fills the dining room with noise and laughter. Eleanor, Pastor Chen, Rose, my colleagues, and 3 foster children I'm mentoring crowd around the table. We're eating pot roast, David's recipe, the one I finally learned to make right. Miss Victoria, Maya asks, why do we have Sunday dinner every week? I set down my fork and smile at her. Because family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up. And we show up for each other. After dinner, I drive to the cemetery alone. I place roses, deep red, lasting love, on David and Celeste's graves. I kept my promise, Grandma, I say aloud. I didn't let bitterness grow, but I didn't let them rewrite history either. The house is full again. Sunday dinners are loud and messy and perfect. I'm helping kids like me. Kids who were left behind but found family anyway. The money? I'm using it the way you would have. To build something that lasts. Thank you for staying. Thank you for choosing me. I'll keep choosing others the way you chose me. When I return to the car, Maya is waiting, holding something small. I found this in the garden. Is it important? The white king from David's chess set. Very. I tell her, smiling. It belonged to my grandfather. He taught me to think 3 moves ahead. What does that mean? It means when life gets hard, you don't just react. You plan. You prepare. You protect the people you love. Maya considers this. Will you teach me? Every Sunday. Julia and Solomon taught me what family isn't. David and Celeste taught me what family is. It's not blood. It's not biology. It's not obligation. It's presence. It's choice. It's staying when leaving is easier. I was abandoned at 4 months old, but I was never alone. And now, neither is Maya. Neither are the dozens of kids I'll help in the years to come. That's the real inheritance. Not $3.4 million, but the knowledge that love is something you do. not something you're owed. My parents sued me for money. I won something worth far more. I won the truth. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you get to choose your family. Choose the ones who stay. Victoria and Maya walk back to the house hand in hand. The porch light is on. The door is open. Sunday dinner leftovers wait inside. Family is who stays. And Victoria? She stayed. She stays. She'll always stay.